Welcome to PBCJ's coverage of the sitting of the lower house. I'm Simone Absalom. The session will start with prayers followed by a roll call of those in attendance. This is usually followed by questions and answers to questions, statements by ministers, items under public business and private members' motions. Before we begin, let's try a Parliament trivia. The Jamaican Constitution is the cornerstone of the island's legal system and institutions. Is this fact or fiction? Stick around for the answer at the end of this introduction. The answer will also be posted on our Facebook page. On this session's agenda, the report of the Commission to review Jamaica's relations with the CARICOM and CARIFORUM frameworks. That's what's on the agenda. It should be noted that elements of the day's agenda can be changed or moved. But before we go, here are a few things you should bear in mind if you plan to attend a session at Gordon House. No visitor shall create any act of disorder within the precincts of the house. No visitor shall be admitted to the house without first obtaining an admission card from the office of the clerk. Visitors who remain within the precincts of the house during a suspension of the session are asked to keep silent. No photography, videography, or sketching of the proceedings is allowed, unless so authorized by the presiding officer, and there should be no smoking inside the parliamentary building. It's about time to go over to the proceeding, but first, the answer to our Parliament trivia. We asked,
Dear Stephen, I'm so happy about your promotion. All these years of hard work.
Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Darrell Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Hutchinson, Dr. Wheatley, Dr. Tufton, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Mr. Spencer, Mr. Green, Mr. Terry Long, Mr. Main, Mr. Arscott, Mr. Azan, Dr. Bloomfield, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brownberg, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Bunting, Dr. Campbell, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Clark, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Miss Daly, Mr. Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Fagan, Dr. Ferguson, Mr. Golding, Dr. Guy, Miss Hannah, Mr. Hales, Mrs. Holness, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Kelly, Dr. McNeil, Miss Nita, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Pickersgill, Mr. Redman, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Stewart, Reverend Thwaites, Mr. Dwayne Vaz, Mr. Wright.
Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House today are the following. Ministry Paper Number 60 of 2018 and Government of Jamaica Audit Commission Annual Report for the year 2016-2017. Annual Performance Report of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security for the year 2017-2018. Ministry of Labour and Social Security studies on A, labor market trends and prospects for employment opportunities in Jamaica, Volume 2, and B, employment opportunities for low-skilled workers in Jamaica. Reform Agenda Report by the Labour Market Reform Commission. Annual Report of the National Land Agency, NLA, for the year 2017-2018. Financial statements of the Consolidated Fund for the year ending March 31, 2018, and the Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters, Foreign States, Kingdom of Belgium, Order 2018 under the Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Act.
Bills brought from the Senate. Petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. The Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Act, whereas by virtue of Section 31(2) of the Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, the Minister may, where any relevant treaty has been made with any foreign state by order, declare that the provisions of the Act shall apply in respect of such foreign state. And whereas Jamaica and the Kingdom of Belgium are parties to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption 2005 and the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime 2000, and whereas on the 8th day of June 2018, the Minister made the Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Foreign States Kingdom of Belgium Order 2018, declaring that the provisions of the Act shall apply in respect of the Kingdom of Belgium, and whereas it is provided by Section 31(4) of the Act that an order made under that section shall be subject to affirmative resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Foreign States Kingdom of Belgium Order Resolution 2018. 2. The Mutual Assistance Criminal Matters Foreign States Kingdom of Belgium Order 2018, which was laid on the table of the House on the 19th day of June 2018, is hereby affirmed.
Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sittings of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business. Minister Samuda.
Mr. Speaker, as you will recall, we indicated at the last sitting of the House that we would convene today for the sole purpose of debating a resolution dealing with the report on CARICOM that was prepared by a specially appointed committee led by former Prime Minister, Honorable Bruce Golding. It is intended that in order to arrive at a position that represents the situation as far as Jamaica is concerned, and using the information and the findings of the Commission, that debate would take place today. And it is intended to proceed on that basis. The Prime Minister will be bringing the resolution in short order. He is here. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask that could you ask the Prime Minister to come? What? Delroy, Minister of Justice, you have a matter that you would like to take at this time?
Mr. Speaker, just ask for confirmation, affirmation, suspension of standing order for the resolution, which notice of which I gave earlier, can be taken now.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, may I ask that the House do affirm the resolution of which I gave notice? It is with respect to mutual agreement between the Kingdom of Belgium and ourselves.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of the resolution which the member refers to, and I believe it is only right that we get a copy, that we are aware of what it is that we are going to be discussing. We have no idea what it's discussing.
Let me help you. Let me help you, member. The fact of the matter is that the resolution is soon to be in the precincts of the Parliament. It has never been contemplated that we would be having a resolution brought before this Honourable House without giving to the opposition a copy of the resolution. You will, Mr. Speaker, I ask that the sitting be suspended for 5 minutes to give us an opportunity to present the resolution. All right, proceed with what you have. Proceed with what you have.
Mr. Speaker, this is a usual, straightforward affirmation where relations, mutual assistance is sought between two nations, and in this case, the Kingdom of Belgium. So in order to ensure the legality of the relations, we do, by positive affirmation, resolution in the House. We bring it to the House, and we ask the House for affirmation of the resolution. So the resolution is basically that the treaty, which exists in law, that it comes into operation. And so in bringing this resolution is to ensure that we adopt it in this Parliament for the treaty to take effect.
Dr. Phillips.
Mr. Speaker, we are not yet at the point of debate. The issue is not to do at this point with the substance of any objection. The issue is to do with the procedure that is being followed. If we are to debate this, we at least need to know the context. We need to have the opportunity to examine it. In this instance, it is Belgium. It may be another state. It may be a state with whom we have to at least do our research and consultations among ourselves to examine the bona fides of such a state as to whether or not it is desirable. Our objection, Mr. Speaker, which we may not persist with, but our objection is that too often there is this breach of procedure which takes place in the House, and the House is being treated as a matter of convenience. The truth is, the only reason why it is being taken now, much to the perhaps embarrassment, if that is possible, of the Minister of Justice, is that the House leader is trying to kill time because a resolution which is needed for the House to be able to debate the CARICOM motion hasn't been brought here.
No, with due respect, that's not true. No, just a second.
Mr. Chuck.
Well, then, if that is so, then we don't need to debate it now. We can wait a week and do it next time.
The truth is that this should have been brought from last year. What happened is that it had to go through the process of checking with the Attorney General's chambers, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It can go next week. The truth, what happened is that it was supposed to come last week, Mr. Speaker, but unfortunately I was not here last week, and I asked for it to be taken this week, because it was ready 2 weeks ago, should have come last week, but I knew I was not going to be in the House last week, so I said I wanted to take it this week. So in fact, Mr. Speaker, when I saw that all that was on all the paper was for today was the debate, I said, this is a simple matter, please put it on. From yesterday, I called the clerk of the House and asked for it to be put on. So it's not a question we're filling in a gap.
Mr. Speaker, the member makes the situation worse and proves the point. If he knew 2 weeks ago, a simple discussion with your opposition counterpart in this House would have enabled us to know, would have enabled us to ask any questions which we might have. For example, which countries in the European Union do we not currently have relations with? These relations, that is to say, a mutual legal assistance treaty arrangement. What are the reasons why we don't, if there is any such country? When will we have completed the list? There are all these issues which are relevant. The House can't be just treated willy-nilly. 2 weeks, you knew it was ready, and not a discussion, and your first discussion is yesterday. That it has become a habit, Mr. Speaker, and it's a bad habit that we should rid ourselves of.
Members, if the opposition is not ready to proceed on that debate, and I understand that's what the opposition business leader is saying, and we were asked by the leader of government business to hold a few minutes because there is a few minutes difficulty. I don't see a problem unless the opposition does not want to proceed on the matter, and they have a right since you did not advise them. But may I ask you again, if you object to the procedure, then we will have a short adjournment and await the we'll have a short suspension and await the arrival of the Prime Minister on the matter which you were informed earlier. Let me ask you again, Dr. Phillips, if you, on what has been presented to you, Mr. Golden, we understand your presentation, Dr. Phillips.
In this House, yes. Mr. Golding, the member from South St. Andrew, is the person who deals with justice matters, and he has indicated that he would like to have a conversation.
So he can proceed?
So, no. Prior to proceeding, he wants to have a conversation. So we ought not to proceed. I accept your proposal that we suspend the sitting to enable the government side to be ready with the other debate.
We are going to suspend for Mr. Golden to have a discussion with Mr. Chuck. The House is suspended for 10 minutes.